More on the Kirill Kaprizov signing, as well as the 10,000 Takes Invitational Golf Tournament coming up today on Locked on Wild.
You're Locked on Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, Wild fans? Welcome into another episode of Locked on Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked on Wild your first listen of the day. A reminder, Locked on Wild is free and available on every platform, including YouTube. So make sure to search for Locked on Wild on YouTube so that you don't miss out on any of your favorite Minnesota Wild information. On today's episode of Locked on Wild, we're joined by Jack Leverentz of 10,000 Takes, talking about Kirill Kaprizov's extension, as well as some other 10,000 Takes related Wild talk, including maybe a new idea for the Bonino Bit. We'll talk about that here today, as well as the 10,000 Takes Invitational Golf Tournament, pairing with the Zuckers for what should be a great event coming up next week. My name is Seth, host of Locked on Wilds, veteran of over 10 years of Minnesota sports coverage, including the last couple of seasons covering exclusively your Minnesota Wild. And we bring in our guest, Jack Leverentz, boss man of 10,000 Takes. Jack, what's happening?
Well, Seth, I'm going to start off this episode. First off, thanks for having me on Locked on Wild. As I've announced in the past, I just became a hockey guy last year. So if you're looking for expert analysis from me, you're probably not going to get it, but I'll give you the honest take of a new guy. But before we get into that, I want to start off the show with a rare apology for my terrible lighting. For those who are watching on visual, I do look like someone who is a serial killer who's like hiding in the shadows, waiting to prey on their next victim. Usually I actually have those blinds closed when I work, because if I don't have them closed, then I get distracted and I just want to stare outside. So usually it's darker in here. Hence the fact that my lighting's terrible because I'm not used to having the windows open. But I'm glad I could take you through that, because that's what's bothering me right now.
We are going to make it work, as so many teams here in Minnesota do. We're just going to put our best foot forward and give a workmanlike effort here for today. So,
right,
obviously, the big news coming, with the exception of the news that broke today in regards to the Minnesota Timberwolves, Kirill Kaprizov signing his extension, 5 years, $45 million to stay with the Minnesota Wild. And so dollar bill Kirill getting a lot of dollar bills to stay with the Wild. Do you like the deal? Were you shocked by the amount of money he got? What are some of your initial reactions to the Kirill Kaprizov extension?
Well, so I didn't know what to think. I mean, throughout this whole process, I've trusted Billy Gambles. I knew he'd get it done. There was just so much chatter that I shouldn't have listened to over the last few months, because it was opinions from, like, I saw article headlines saying that like the Wild have moved on from Kirill, and I'm like, there's no way in hell it's true. Like, he's not going to do that. The other one was like the fact that he was just trying to sign for 3 years. I'm like, I will take him for as long as we can get. So when I heard 5, I was pretty shocked, because when I heard other rumors saying that it was going to be 5, other people had ruled that out. They're like, he's not going to sign for 5 years. Like, he doesn't trust the Wild enough to bring him a cup, which is fair. But so I was hearing like 2 or 3, and I wouldn't have been surprised if, out of pure desperation, we would have just gone for 1 and then, tried to go every year as we can, to hopefully keep him. But 5 is pretty impressive. And despite the fact that this is a great thing, of course, there were negative fans saying, oh, watch, he's going to be a bust now in 2 years. It's like, shut up. Come on. This is different. But I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, the amount of money is a lot, but let's be honest, he deserves it, right? Pay the man.
Yeah, it's the classic situation of a player having a really good year and then being able to gamble on themselves. And I mean, this could look like a steal in a couple of years if he continues on the trajectory that he's on. But in talking about kind of the other side of this, not necessarily the performance side, just the marketability. I mean, dollar bill Kirill, I am only here for the Mick Golden's gif that has become just a classic here in Minnesota. Is there anybody on this team that is more marketable? And I mean, rightfully so, because he's the guy that performs the best on the ice. Is there anybody else that is as marketable as Kirill could be?
Not at all. And I think we should tell Kirill that he needs to halt all lessons of learning English, because his broken few sentences that he says, like what did he say yesterday? Hey, Minnesota, I am on my way back, like a wink. Like, can we just limit him to like 4-word sentences? Because that Kirill is funnier. I don't want a fluently speaking English Kirill. I want a Kirill who speaks with a Russian accent that, only delivers a few words at one time. I mean, they do say, Seth, that less is more. So I think we need to halt all lessons of teaching Kirill English, because it's simply funnier when he can only speak a few words, and those words carry a lot of power. I mean, if he's only here for the McGolden Light, that's a movement I can get behind.
Yeah, what was the Teddy Roosevelt phrase? Speak softly and carry a big stick. I think that carries a lot of weight here. So hopefully, hopefully we go with that. We'll tell you what, I want to ask a little bit about some of the stuff that you guys have been doing at 10,000 Takes, mostly in regards to a bit that may not be usable this year. We'll talk about the Bonino Bit and more. Jack Leverentz with 10,000 Takes, our guest. More to come here on Locked On Wild. BetOnline.ag is back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back on to start another football season. And as always, BetOnline.ag is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline.ag continues to be the number one source for everything football. So head to BetOnline.ag on your laptop or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus. That's double your initial deposit just for signing up. Don't forget to use the promo code NFL100. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. You can find all of that and more at betonline.ag, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. That's betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all of that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before. So you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there is no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. Back for more here on today's episode of Locked On Wild. Again, thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen every day. And as we look at the Wild getting set for the start of training camp and expectations for the season, no better place to make your second listen of the day than the Locked On Bets podcast. If your favorite NHL team doesn't have to be a guessing game, if you listen to the Locked On Bets podcast, hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling. Get daily picks, blowout specials, wrong team favorite picks, and Lee Sterling's lock of the day. Make sure to follow the Locked On Bets podcast, brought to you by betonline.ag, wherever you get podcasts. Continuing our chat with Jack Leverentz of 10,000 Takes. And Jack, I'm super curious because it was such a successful bit last year, and you're wearing the shirt right now, the Bonino Bit. Bonino, one of my favorite reoccurring bits throughout the course of social media. I've got a suggestion if you guys need something to fill this season.
All ears, man. Let's go.
So it's very close, and honestly, you only have to change a couple of letters. Just go from Bonino to Foligno.
Yep. That one's definitely a possibility. I don't want to throw any disrespect at Nick, though, and think that he's replaceable. So the board is going to have to review that bit.
That is a very good take too?
We are in the works of that one, and
Okay.
especially because Nick wore the shirt at his final press conference as a Wild. I don't know if that is on the grounds for Bit retirement or if we want to carry it out in honor of him. So I guess we kind of have to review the process of Bits, which I'm not sure how that works, but we will figure it out. I'll tell you that.
Was there how did that come about? I mean, it had to have been pretty crazy going from, the start with just videos of you and the rest of the crew just yelling Bonino at various places, all the way up to, as you said, Nick actually wearing the shirt while he was being interviewed by members of the Wild media. How on earth did that process come together?
Well, yeah, so the bit started, for those of you who don't know, Bonino, when he played with the Penguins, I believe they were live broadcasting the Stanley Cup Finals in Argentina. And the Argentinian announcer, when Bonino scored, yelled in a soccer-style announcement, Bonino, 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 Bonino. It was just electric. So I think it was journalist Jake started saying it every time like Bonino would score. And, Zane and I would just kind of stare at him and be like, dude, like, what's wrong with you? Why do you keep yelling his name like that? He showed us the video and we're like, oh, we should capitalize off this. So like every time he scored and we were watching the games together, we'd get a video of Jake doing it. And then eventually like I started doing it and we would add it to Jake's videos. And then eventually other people in 10K started doing it and they would send us the videos and get in on it. And then it took all the way to the point where like we would be in St. Paul and people like we get recognized more in St. Paul than anywhere, but we get recognized in St. Paul a lot. And especially during Wild games, people would just like drunk guys would just start yelling it at us. Like they wouldn't say hi. They wouldn't say nice to meet you. They just see you in public and start yelling, Bonino, 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 Bonino. So like it got to the point where we started taking videos of them doing it. And then other people would like send us like DM us videos. So we took every time someone did it, we added it to like, it was like a snowball effect, right? And we just kept adding and adding and adding it. By the time Nick had scored his final goal of the 2020 season, it was about a minute and a half long video of just all these different people yelling it. And so, it got to the point where like every time he would score, we'd have 10 tweets at us saying like, where is it? Like post it, post it, post it. People just waiting for it. So we're like, well, fuck it. Let's make a shirt, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That's what you do in the content game. So we did the shirt. It sold pretty well. You'll see him around St. Paul every now and then. And then our friend Erin Lowry, who you know very well as well, she, awesome person, by the way, she was able to grab one of the shirts from us. And this was all through COVID protocol. So we had to really be careful with this. But she was able to get the shirt in the door and get it to Nick, or at least to Nick's manager or someone who works with Nick. And she said, I gave it to the right person. No promises, whatever. We didn't think anything would happen. We knew the sad day was coming when he would not get re-signed because he was just on a 1-year deal, I believe. And we thought, you know what? Well, at least Nick has the shirt. At least he knows he has something with our logo on it. Like that's a start. And then like out of nowhere, he just wears it to the press conference. And I think Russo was the first one to tweet it at us like, hey, 10K takes, like he wore it. I think this is your shirt. And we're like, oh yeah, shit. Like it is. And then next thing you know, yeah, we're getting all these tweets and all this attention. So mission successful. And if it weren't for Erin Lowry, who does social media for the Wild, she does a great job. It wouldn't have happened. Yeah, we're just really thankful that, in the 1 year Nick was here, we were able to kind of make him a shining star of the team, and maybe not a goal scoring way or a performance way necessarily like Kirill was, but in more of just kind of like one time a Brazilian announcer yelled your name like you scored a goal in soccer. So, that's his claim to fame, I guess. It's great.
Hey, that's not a bad peak to at least at this point to have. I mean, it's not something that I have to my credit. So
me neither, Seth. My name is not on anything other than the colored pencils my mom wrote my name on in elementary school because I'd fucking lose them all the time.
Oh, you too? I was hoping I wasn't the only one that had that happen.
Oh yeah. Even on the eraser, you never know. You never know what you're going to lose. It doesn't hurt to write your name on things, but never has been on a shirt. So Nick has me there.
Well, tell you what, I'd like to talk a little bit more about 10,000 Takes. Love what you guys are doing over there. And also want to talk about the 10,000 Takes Invitational Coming up next week, you guys are pairing up with the Zuckers, benefiting a great cause. More with Jack Leverentz coming up next here on Locked On Wild. Today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning, like is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? Who even knows? And why wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. You can save money and time when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? RockAuto.com is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Plus, RockAuto.com's prices are reliably low for every customer. So head to RockAuto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Make sure to write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. All at rockauto.com. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. Again, make sure to follow the show everywhere you listen to podcasts and also now on YouTube as well. Search Locked On Wild, hit subscribe, turn those notifications on so you can watch me throw $3 in bills around the next time a Wild player signs an extension. To be fair, that was the only cash that I had in my wallet. So,
hey, that's more cash than I have in mine. I'm afraid I'm going to get drunk and lose it. So
you just got to go with what you have at the time. And I mean, huge moment. We know how it is.
There was the guy who turned like a paperclip into a house on Craigslist. So I wouldn't undervalue $3, Seth. You could turn that into a yacht if you really put your mind to it.
Hey, that's what we like to hear. Jack Leverentz, our guest from 10,000 Takes, and Jack, as noted with the Nick Bonino bit in the last segment, you guys have had quite the rise here, getting to where you're at. Obviously now with It's a Bit on KFAN, amongst many other things. With the 2-year anniversary of what you guys have put together coming up here relatively soon, did you ever think when you started that you would get to the point where you're at right now, where you guys have built a very, very healthy cult following of fans and supporters to what you guys are doing? I mean, I'm sure there have been plenty of pinch me moments all throughout this process.
Yeah. Appreciate the compliment, Seth. No, the answer is we thought it would take longer. I mean, we knew we'd get there if we worked hard enough. I mean, if you do anything and you're consistent and you improve over time, like good things will happen. I'll tell you, like we all work other jobs and I'm up till midnight, 1 a.m. pretty much every night working on this. So like anything else that's good in life, it requires a lot of hard work. But yeah, we didn't think it would blow up this fast. Honestly, we thought it would take a couple more years of grinding. I mean, for the first year, and then into COVID, I mean, no one really watched anything we did. We worked really hard to put out really good content, and it didn't go anywhere. It didn't do anything, which I think that's the way a lot of people start. Unless you were like really popular in high school or, you were famous for doing something else on the internet, it's really hard to build like a following from ground zero. When you reach a certain point, it gets easier because, the more base followers you have, the more they're going to tell other people. And then the chain reaction kind of starts that opens the doors to things like the Cup Snake and ESPN and KFan. But it's that initial off the ground part of it that's actually really difficult that I don't think a lot of people understand or have the grit to do, but we did. And we survived that spot. And, now we're past the point of validation, and it's all about just making people laugh. Right. Yep. I mean, especially in 2020, that was our biggest stage of growth. And it's simply because we weren't talking about COVID or racial injustice or rioting. I'm not discrediting those things as important, but we were the only ones who were trying to just make people laugh in a time that was so screwed up. And I think a lot of people found value in that, especially because, we form a lot of our comedy around local sports and events and stuff. And not only can people relate, but like I said, it's like people can laugh about something in a world that's so screwed up. So 2020 was definitely obviously a tough year for everybody, but a big year for us to capitalize on entertainment and just trying to bring people a smile. That was kind of the whole goal from the start.
Yeah, awesome. I know you got a heart out here, so I appreciate the time today. Just talk a little bit, and then when you need to hop out, feel free, and I can take it from there. But just give us a couple minutes. You're pairing up with Jason and Carly Zucker and the Give
Yep.
16 Foundation for the 10,000 Takes Invitational Golf Tournament next week. I will be participating. The Bar Down Beauties are participating. We are combining as a team, which is going to be absolute chaos, but I'm here for it. So just tell us a little bit about how that kind of came together, and obviously going to a more than worthy charity in the Give 16 Foundation as well.
Yeah, so we met Carly through some of our K-Fan connections before we were even affiliated with K-Fan. And Carly was willing to come down to the studio. She didn't really know who we are or what we did yet. And she came on our podcast and we made her laugh a lot and she had a lot of fun. So that kind of started an awesome relationship with her. And then she brought Jason down in June into our studio, which is no bigger than a janitor-sized closet. And, same reaction. He really liked us a lot and had a lot of fun on the show. So that kind of cemented our relationship with the Zuckers. They're just awesome people, especially for allowing us to kind of partner with them on something. Hung out with them in Vegas as well with the Power Trip crew. That was a blast. And then that kind of birthed the idea of the golf tournament. The golf tournament was something we wanted to do for a while, but we needed to partner with the right charity, not only a charity that we believe in, but a charity that can help us promote the event and that'll get a lot of people to show up because like any other event that's free, it's easy to get people there. But with a golf tournament, especially your first one, there's always an initial kind of not concern, but people are going to wait around and make sure you know how to throw a proper one before they throw you $110. So
right,
kind of getting them to partner with us was good for credibility, and their charity does such awesome work. So yeah, basically what we're doing is we're throwing a scramble charity golf tournament on September 30th at Bunker Hills in Coon Rapids. And it's $440 a team, $110 a person. $110's a lot, but if you listen to everything you get with it, it's totally worth it. So you get access to the driving range before the tournament. If you need to hack out, if you're going to try to make up for 3 months of not playing golf in an hour, you get as many balls as you want to do that. You get 18 holes at Bunker Hills, which is an awesome course. I just played there last week. You get the golf cart, you get a 10K custom Waggle hat, which if you guys don't know Waggle Golf, they're an insanely awesome brand that's coming up in the golf space. I know like people like Bucci Gross and some other well-known people and just kind of the media and sports community are starting to adopt Waggle. Shout out to Travis. He's making us 10K custom logo hats. So you're going to see our 10K logo on the front of it. That's included with registration. You get a sleeve of tailor-made golf balls with our logo on them as well. If you lose them, then that just advertises our brand to more people who will find your balls in the weeds or the woods or wherever. So you can decide to keep those or lose them all in the first hole, but that's also included. There's also cash credit in the pro shop that goes to the winners. There is also, what else? There's going to be a silent auction, all sorts of awesome donations to that. All the money goes to Give 16, as well as a dinner afterwards and whole games. So all sorts of awesome stuff happening with our sponsors and just all sorts of opportunities to Give 16. So we're just happy we can put on something that's not only fun, but also, helps out for a great cause.
Outstanding. Do you have spots available if anybody listening is interested in trying to throw a team together quick?
Yeah. So we actually have 2 spots remaining, but you have to sign up by Thursday at noon. So that's tomorrow, okay. September 24th at 12:00 p.m. If you want to get one of those last 2 spots, all you do to register is go to 10ktakesmn.com and there's going to be a tab for the 10K Invitational Golf Tournament. And within that tab, you can register your team. You just have to put all four players' names, an overall handicap for all 4 players combined. We'll take the average, as well as just kind of like your billing information, your address, and you'll be signed up. You get to see people like me and Seth there, so that makes it worth it already, right?
Screw all the other stuff. I'll be very generous with my my fireball that I'm bringing, so it should be an absolutely electric time. And speaking of an electric time here today, Jack, thank you for joining the show. Make sure to follow 10,000 Takes. You can see them everywhere. So all you got to do is just search. Jack's Twitter is @bossman_10K. You can find the secondary Twitter account We're not going to get into that too much, but
That's
the
a whole
secondary
nother discussion, but we can talk about it later.
Oh boy. Yeah. Find 10,000 Takes everywhere. Their stuff is electric. And that is going to conclude today's episode of Locked on Wild. Once again, thank you for making Locked on Wild your first listen every day. We will be back tomorrow with the Bar Down Beauties talking about training camp. So make sure to tune in then, and make sure to check out the Locked on Bets podcast for your second listen of the day as they continue to gear up for the start of the NHL season. Make sure to follow Locked on Wild wherever you listen to podcasts: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We are everywhere, and we are bringing you content all throughout the week. New episodes every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Awesome.